Hello, welcome to Swatches Art Livestream number 104. We are joined again by Anna. You are back today, and I forget which one I have you on. There we go.
Hi everyone. I hope microphone is on and all.
Yeah, I think you're good now. Just had to mute it during the opening sequence there, but hey, welcome back. Yeah, you were off last week. Did you have a good time?
Yeah, sorry, there was a complete miscommunication. I thought it's super clear to Nicole that she's gonna take over, but it wasn't, and it was my fault. But you did really well.
Yeah.
It was still a really good stream.
You probably said it, and I probably forgot, just trying to juggle too many things. But it's good to have you back. And welcome to everyone who is joining us live or watching the recording. I am illustrator Clint Kearley. Anna is also an illustrator, part of the group. We got people out on the Discord. You can see the Discord link there. We're out there practically every day. And we're going to just take a couple of minutes here to run through some announcements, allow people to join in the stream live. If you're watching this recording and you don't want to catch announcements, you can just scrub forwards a couple of minutes. Okay, first thing I want to announce is there is a Halloween sale for the character design ebook. It's a PDF, 66 pages long. I put this together a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time putting it together. We had a couple of questions come up with the character designs that were submitted in for this episode. And this book addresses a lot of what those things are. So if you want to jump into character design and have kind of my thoughts on it spilled out on the page and be able to look through it in detail, then go pick it up. You can get it at 40% off if you use the code Halloween. It is good until November 1st, so all the way through the 31st. So just basically a day and a half. And you can catch that on swatchesart.com. And of course, the community out there on the Discord, great place to get some constructive feedback, find some great resources, connect with like-minded artists. I know it's probably true for you as well, Anna, right? That there's not a lot of close friend artists in your area, and Discord and things like that are a great way to connect.
Yes, definitely. So I really feel like we've grown a bit like a family already on Swatches. Of course, not everyone is super active. You don't have to be super active. You just want to look from afar. It's completely okay. But there are more and more people joining in, and we are having a lot of hangouts in the audio channel and talk to each other. And we really became something like family, or at least very close friends there, even though we don't meet in real life. Hashtag COVID. But it's so nice. It's such a good replacement, and I can just recommend it.
Yeah, people are putting together, I was trying to build a community to the point where it could start kind of sustaining itself. It's just not possible for me to head up everything myself. And like you started the art club, there's a lot of great resources out there, and as far as exercises to work on, other people to do it with you. Some of the people got together, they've started their own D&D campaign, so they meet on a different day and they do that. So it's good. People need other creatives in their life, and that's not always the chance, depending on where you live. If you do want an hour mentorship consult with me, you can go out to art-mentor.com. My schedule is a little thin over the next 2 weeks because I'm going to be throwing some time into the house. I've going to be meeting with some family. My dad's coming in. He's going to help me do some work on the house. So I don't have as much time open on the slots, but you could probably still find one if you need it. And if you're also new to the channel and what's going on, we have a character design and illustration challenge going on. There are two fantasy races. One is more humanoid, one is more monstrous. And they need to create images to fulfill that. So they were given an outline, they were given guide images to follow just for inspiration. And this is a mock commission, as you might receive from a company like D&D, Pathfinder, or something similar to that. Okay, any other announcements come to mind? Anything you want to toss out about the community, or maybe things going on in the art world?
I don't think that you missed anything. Just for the art club, I maybe won't have anything new this year. I'm super busy, so if you're new and you want to catch up with us, this is the right time to do it and start from week 1. I think we have like 5 or 6 weeks already done, or themes and topics, so you can totally catch up with that. And I hope the new year will bring more time to to complete it or to go for with it.
Yeah, so if you are new, there are already, like she said, 5 or 6 weeks of exercises to do. These are really good exercises, just the sort of thing that you would expect to do in a proper art course or college, a good one, and go do them. That's how you improve. And I do like your comment. It did remind me, we will probably be having some shifting around with the schedule going into later November and December. I haven't for sure made the decision, but we might not have any more art challenges for the remainder of the year, for the next month and a half. It just gets difficult to do that when I'm likely going to be traveling for the holidays. So if I'm not committed to it, it makes it a lot easier. So I will give you probably a better answer next week when I have a better idea of my schedule. But it's likely that we'll just finish up to next week for Group 1 and the week following that for Group 2, and we may not have anything, any new challenges till the end of December. Anyway, heads up on that. Okay, so let's jump into it. 10 concepts submitted of the 12. We're going to just start alphabetically with Alexi. I'm going to have to go a little faster than I did last week. Last week we only had 5 or 6 submissions, and I could really take my time, but we've got to move it through a little faster this time. So, for those unfamiliar with the challenge, this group of people is called the Hassori. They're completely fictional. I wrote them, designed them to be a D&D-like race. And they are like 95% humanoid, but they've been changed by the old gods that they used to serve, who were now dead. The gods have passed away in a god battle. And these are all dark-skinned desert dwellers who are kind of like a Bedouin, little Romany sort of vibe. They have golden irises, and they have natural occurring golden designs throughout their skin, and they are a playable race. Aside from that, they game mechanics wise, they're resistant to heat. They have semi-photosynthesis, that they can absorb sunlight for energy instead of food, that sort of thing. Okay, so this one is by Alexi. When you look at this, you've had a chance to look at these, Anna, and kind of put together some thoughts. Why don't you hit me with your first one, and we'll talk about what you feel is the major point that stands out to you.
Yeah, so we are going for a more alternating kind of critique this time.
Yeah,
so just
change it up.
Each. So the first thing that comes to me is I really like the character design and the ideas you put in. You put a lot of details and all that.
Yeah, let me
one thing I'd like to do. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
One thing I'd like to change or fix or alternate a bit is the pose, because it's the first thing you see of the character when you open the book and you have the character. The first thing you see is like the whole thing and its silhouette and the pose and the way it's standing. And I feel like this one is a little bit tilted backward or something. It's like falling backwards. I'm not seeing what she's doing with the one hand. She's holding the stuff with the one. What's doing with the other? Is she more like a? Usually, when you have a D&D character, they already have not just a race, but also the what's it called in English? Like, is a rogue or is it a druid or whatever?
Oh, the class, right?
Yeah, the class. Yeah, right. It's the class. You also see a bit of the class often, so maybe have something. Is she more into the magical direction? Is she more a fighter direction? So give her some story already that I can know that this character, this character is about. This was my first thought.
I like that. I think that's a good thing. Anna's approaching it in a very sensible way, which is you start with the big thing first. You don't want to be like starting by critiquing the little designs on the fabric. That's not where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck, as they would say. So she's looking at it as a unit. As a unit, is it working? Does the pose read? Do I get an idea of the character? And does it have a clear silhouette? Exactly what you need to be thinking about. I agree with you. Right now, it's a clear design, and I like that. And it looks like Alexi was doing this traditional, or at least some of it. It looks like it's some of its pencil sketches that were colored in. Maybe a combination, not sure. Which is completely, you can do traditional work and send it in, that's fine. I'm with you. I think the pose probably needs to be tweaked in order to make it more engaging. As far as class, I feel like the easiest change to make in order to give there a class and also give an answer to that other hand would be to make them like an explorer, a guide, something like that. They already have the bedroll. They already have some of the accoutrements with them. So this other hand, I immediately think of two things. One is let's have a cool fold out compass. And so she's got a compass folded up, opened up. And she's looking at that, like sighted in where she is. Or she's got like a map, right? And she's got some old map that's kind of rolled up. And they're checking where they are. Either way, it kind of gives them an idea of somebody who is exploring or going somewhere. And do make sure that you have a proper photo reference for the pose. Alexi, going forwards, photograph, and I want to see you go photograph someone. Don't just find an internet photo. Go photograph someone. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a camera. So make that happen. Make sure you have the right perspective when you do it. That is, make sure your eye level matches up where you want it to be in the image. Okay, as far as me, I'm looking at maybe trying to clean up the design a little bit with the shape. Like we've got this shape-wise, we've got a couple of things that I feel is kind of going counter to making the character cool. And that's one of the things that gets to me is that we want to make this character more cool with some better shapes. So there's two main ones, which is this kind of pinkish roll bag thing around the waist. And then also the chain that's going across the face. I feel like if you actually removed both of those, it would make you could connect to the character more. And it would give you a more streamlined overall design. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, my second note was exactly on that. Good thing that you have it now on 40% less, because this is exactly what you explained in the character design PDF as well. Very well explained there. I just can recommend it. And that's how the eye path is around your figurine. And the top starts well with the lines leading us downwards over the character. But then we have a lot of horizontals, a lot of boxes that are not fitting um, like the organic appearance of the character in general. There's a lot of very hard and straight, yeah, edges that are kind of not going harmonically with the rest of the design. Yeah, this was my second note on the character.
Okay, I do want to note. Well, actually, we go back to you. What's maybe some of the things that you really did like, and that you would like to see either kept or expounded on?
I like, for example, because it's something you don't see often, the scarf that is connected to the arm rings. I don't know, to the
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
blue fabric
the
tied there.
blue, yeah, the
Yeah.
blue rope, silk, whatever. I like that really much, and I also like the idea of very heavy or very pretty detailed chains around the face and focal point situation. There's another thing about the balancing. We have this quite often in this challenge that some people put too much on their character, which doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Some people don't put anything on their character, which doesn't work. So maybe find something that is very specific for that character, like these loose things like the scarf, and maybe repeat it in the chains that's over her face, something like that. But then leave out the boxiness in the other parts, or just go for boxy and everything is boxy about her. So she has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of bags and all that, but don't try to put all the things you saw in your references in the internet. I did the same thing often when I designed my characters. Decide for a main thing that you want your character to be known for.
Yeah. That's a good comment. And this is exactly why you go through the design phase. And I'm kind of like Alexia. I have a tendency to probably over accessorize during the design phase, and then I sort of pare back until I feel like it's a good balance. So I would rather see a little too much and just take a little away than not have enough and be interesting. So if we can just take away the things, like I particularly say taking away this mid bag thing, because we want a nice, clean female figure. We want that there, and that really breaks that up. And we also want to be able to connect with the face and see what's unique about this character. And to me, having the chain thing going across the nose and the face, it distracts from that. It gets in the way of that unique thing about the character. And it starts getting more attention to that than the actual face. That's one of the reasons I would say take that away. I'm with you with the blue scarf. And when I see that, my brain starts working with it. And that's one of the reasons I thought that she could be some sort of guide, because I registered the things on the bottom. If they're not, then I would suggest considering to make them bells. And the idea being that they're out in these sandstorms and that you would have these bells so that you could hear where people are. And if she's a guide, then she's going to have these ropes with her, and then anybody she's guiding would grab onto one of these ropes. And, they could work together as a team, and then they would have that bell in order to help track where the people are out in, blinded by the sand and stuff. The floating bag up here is kind of cool. I don't know if it's like hot air or magic, but I sort of like that idea. I'd like to see maybe that developed a little bit more. And then if you do it, we want to see like a rope or something going from the backpack or the person or the belt or whatever.
I
And
I
then,
think it's just
yeah.
an explanation of what is behind her bag. I think it's a close up of her bag that she has.
Oh, okay. It's kind of a
Like
back
she
view.
has to be floating.
I feel like it
That's
was
what
something floating, but I mean, I think it'd be cool if they had some sort of way to make some of the stuff float and it would just kind of like drift behind them. Um, Bags look good though. Okay, just one or two comments about the face, then we've got to move on because we've got to. we have the male head. So the illustrators needed to do a full figure of one gender, and then either male or female, and then the opposite, and do a portrait of the opposite gender over here. This seems pretty straightforward. My major thing with this is we just need to make sure that the gold designs in the skin are very readable, and they are the thing that really gets your attention. They should be very bright and metallic, and they should be very interesting designs across the face. Otherwise, older guy, white beard, headpieces, that all seems pretty straightforward. I'm on board with that. Do make sure that you have a good photo reference. It can be very close to your reference. That's okay. What was your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think maybe you can push a little bit. I think in the description it says that they have some gold also on their skin, right?
Yeah.
Or is it just
no,
like he could have a little sign or something that makes just a little detail, you know what I mean? Or like she has a chain or something maybe coming from his nose to his ear. I don't know, something that connects his culture to her culture. That if you go for the chains in the face, for example, that you have a theme that is going through female and male versions. Maybe female more filigrane and more, and males having something more heavy and just a single one or two chains or something like that. Yeah, something like that could be cool.
We want to see some distinct gold designs. That's one of the things that makes them very clearly from this particular subrace of the humans. Okay, well, Alexi, looking forward to see what you do with it. And of course, you can post your progress out on the Discord, get some feedback from the group as well. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Alan R. Alan is also doing Hassori. I think we only have one. We have one Okra Moth. Louis does one Okra Moth. Everybody else does Hassori. That's okay. It's good to see the Hassori are popular. All right. Now this is Alan's first time in the challenge. So we have multiple first timers here. Alan, hey, thanks for jumping in the challenge. Ended up going with the only composites I didn't have a full reference. So I'm looking for them now. Okay, yeah, make sure you get those before we proceed. Not sure what to do with the man's left hand. I'm also considering rotating the woman into a 3/4 pose if it might look better. One of the first things I do want to start with, and this goes for several of the images, so I'm going to point it out here, which is the portrait really just needs to be head and neck. Like, we don't need the entire upper body. We can crop this just like that, and then you can just kind of painterly let it go off the end. The main thing that we're trying to convey with the portrait is just the way that the eyes and the skin look. That's the main thing, because that's the unique thing about the character. So we don't need to render any of this down there, so don't put a lot of time into that. Instead, we want to finish this up nicely and then put the rest of our attention into the full-length character. Okay, initial impressions. Hit me with what you got there.
Yeah. So I think that the first thing that I thought was like we're supposed to have one full body, one portrait, one female, the other male, right? She did both female, right? Or he?
Well,
is it okay then?
What to do with the man's left hand. So I'm assuming that the standing figure is a male, but it's not really developed enough to tell.
Oh, really? Okay.
And that's what made me, because that left hand doesn't look like it's doing anything. That's
okay. But if we go for a male there, then of course it fits the outline. For the full body one, again, I'd say the pose is the first thing that comes, to my mind. Is a very straight arm, very straight standing figure. I like that you have this 3/4, even though the feet are not following that perspective. But I like that you turned the upper body away from us a little bit. But I think we can push this more into something a bit more expressive, a bit more showing us what this character is about. The same thing as I said with the first character. So again, silhouette and pose is the first thing I look at, and I would try out a little bit more different ways. You have 3 different sketches above. I think that's cool, and I think the others are a little bit more dynamic, probably. Just as a general thing, of course, everybody can do it like they want, but I recommend not doing full value sketches as the main sketch to find ideas for poses, because it takes usually a longer time. And people who draw like that, there are some pros who go like with very scribbly values and then do their sketches on top of it. But this is because they know how things work. And maybe it's better to go with like what Clint is doing now, like a skeleton or a figurine, and a very simple thing just to find the right pose for you, or get some really neat reference that you can copy from. That's no problem. So
yeah, there's no problem using a very similar pose. And what I would do is basically this. I'd go back, make sure I have a decent mannequin to work with. And then I would just copy and paste that and do a whole line of them. And then I'm going to go do variations of the character on top of it. And so you're just doing iterations. You're not redrawing the pose every time. You're just doing a different design on that pose over and over and over. And then you pick the best one. And then you do multiple iterations of that one where you're changing less and less and just getting the best ideas. And then you get the best ideas and you move on to another set. Here, like if you what to do with that left hand, well, you have him holding something. It's a satchel. It's the end of a dagger, an extra sword at his side. You have it on an object, interacting with some object there. We want to make sure that he has the right feeling. That arm out with the staff makes me feel like he's some sort of guardsman, protector, that sort of thing, which means more of the chest. Broader chest being pushed out further, and so we're getting that angle, that tilt of the chest coming out, the hips going back, the feet coming back further, right? Because the feet actually come out this way. Yeah. Then he's going to balance better, and he has that nicer overall arc to his body that's going to be more dynamic. This is another one. This is where we get into what's good for a book and what's good for your particular outlet. That is, how is this image being used? What is this image for? And unless the unique thing about this character is that they are always covered and you can only see their eyes, then we don't want to really cover their face up. This is one of those things that could work for an individual character. But if you do it on this image, it represents the entire race and also keeps the viewer from knowing what they look like. So we don't want to get the one image that's supposed to tell us what the entire race looks like and then cover up 4/5 of the face. Right? Does that make sense? Or because to me, this is the time when you don't cover up too much. This is when you have to tell the viewer what these things look like.
Yeah, and maybe you can have like something very transparent. There are really, really light ones where you can still see everything through if you want that effect,
Yeah.
So, but not such a thick one, yeah.
Yeah, and if he has a mask, I mean, he can have a mask. Even it could be like if you wanted to combine this sort of approach with almost a Oni mask thing, but you have it sitting down under his chin. It's not latched up yet. He's got it down here. So you can see the designs of like the tusk up there, then the scowl, and you can see where he would put it up, right? But you have it down so that we can actually see what the race looks like. We want to see if they look like humans or not. This is the sort of thing that the game master, dungeon master, would look at, and he's looking at this in order to describe it to the players. but if he can't understand what they look like, he's not going to be able to describe it. And this is just going with what the image is for. Now, this could also be a really excellent place where you do a variation. You show it with it on, and then you show it with it off. And so it really gives the viewer a better idea of, oh, okay, this is something that they commonly use to change, their appearance or to hide that they're Hassori or something on that effect. Okay. Otherwise, it looks like we just need more iterations. Make sure that you're looking at plenty of references, especially from life, as to the way the clothing is designed. At this point, it's really, really simplistic. I'm going to suggest doing what Anna said, which is go back to working with lines. Just do lines right now. Worry about the values after you figured out a design that you really like. Any more notes or on the portrait as well?
Yeah, I just wanted to give the tip. Maybe it's easier for you to have like a straight character for the design, and for what you submit, go for the more dynamic pose like Clint gave you as an idea right now, because sometimes hard to paint a character in perspective in a specific pose and do the design on top of it. So maybe it's easier to organize your thoughts when you have a really simple T-posed character or something, and you just do the designs on top of that and then bring it into your illustration. Maybe that's easier for you, just as a tip.
Yeah.
And for the face, I'm not sure what I'm seeing with these bright circles and also what the design will be. Just as a general, I like that you have around the face just these round shapes. But don't get too messy with other shapes, like around the necklace and then the moon shape and then straights, and decide for a specific thing, everything rounded, okay, then keep it rounded. And if you want triangles, make very rounded triangles, not very sharp one on top. So think about your shape language and match it with what you have for the character that we see in full view, so that we see they're really from the same tribe, so to speak.
Okay, Alan, that's your feedback. Hopefully you find that helpful. Close it out and move on to Impar. This is Impar's also his first time. I assume Impar is male. I'm not familiar with that name. And this first time participating, welcome, welcome. It's been some months since I drew last regularly and had our time facing the white canvas again. Yeah, if you haven't been drawn in a while, it takes a while to kind of get the momentum back up and feel like you're getting in the groove. It's good that you jumped in. Yeah. I hope these exercises help me get back on track. I'm sure they will. About the character, I struggle finding accurate references for the objects they may carry and accessories like belts and bags. Yeah, a great place to look is just other D&D, Pathfinder illustrations. People have put together thousands and thousands of images like that, and basically everything that they could be carrying, somebody's already thought of it and illustrated it, and you don't want to copy it, but it gives you an idea of, oh yeah, they could have this or they could have that. Overall, I think that's reading quite well. My general impression is that it's a she. Okay, Impar. Okay. My general impression is very positive. I'm liking a lot of the decisions going on here. They have a very distinct look to them. The images, the rendering is nice and clean. Simple colors, flat colors, basically, with some simple lines. And I like some of the variations that you got up there. What was your initial impression of Behev?
Yeah, I also like the color choices. They work really well together. The way you design the shapes, there's a good eye path across the character. Maybe we need to catch it back, that it comes back up, but downwards it's already very well. one thing is, I feel like this person still has some inner drive to make things very symmetrical, even though he tried asymmetry. But like on both sides, there is this strap over the chest. On both sides, we see the cape or whatever this is part of the trousers or something. You can push that, I'd say. You can push these things and make them more asymmetrical, so it gets even more visual interest. And but before that, what the very first thing was, make it more clear. We have a male here. He has a very undefined body shape right now. You can have wider chest. You can have wider shoulders. If you look at the male characters you have as references, a male is an appearance, that is really male. And this looks more like boy or something younger. So I push the features that you see. This is a guy, this is the man of the tribe, I want to play that man. I want to play that character, to push that. You know what first?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, these were my first thoughts.
Okay.
Not to you.
There is an amount of asymmetry, and I was looking at that as well. And I think the major thing is that X across the chest. So what I would do there is, let's go ahead and just take that out for a moment. There needs to be some sort of straps there to make sense of how all this stuff is on his back. But you can change it up. You can have it where there's something like one big one coming across here, and then there's loops, and you've got like double ones coming off the other side, something like that. And so you're breaking it up in a different symmetry, but it accomplishes the same thing. It's a little more interesting, and it's not, the He-Man X across the chest. And there's all kinds of different patterns that you can do in order to get that. Or maybe there's one kind of going this way over this, and then there's a tie off of that one that comes down. And, play with that. Do some variations of that. And I think that would help with the asymmetry. And like you said with the cloak thing, that doesn't have to be even as also. That can have a different symmetry where maybe one side is really high, and then the other side gets a lot lower. Something more in this line. And that just changes it up. It feels a little more unique that way. And I completely concur with what you were saying, Anna. If it's a guy, then let's go ahead and lean into that. We want to make him more powerful. He doesn't have to become, massive, but we want it clear that this guy is strong. This guy is someone you want to play as. He looks formidable. And some other things that stood out to me, I really like this idea. And it's something that I would probably go for myself, which is not only does he have gold designs, but the hands actually transition to being gold in a gradient as it goes down. That's one of those things that I would be utilizing in multiple areas, maybe even around the eyes, and letting there be a fainter, like the whole area becomes more golden, kind of like the hands, or maybe even like the chin, like the whole area kind of fades more gold, and then you have these more distinct lines that come out of it. So there's certain areas that are more golden, and then you have them fading off, kind of like you have it there. What did you feel about the gold designs? Did you like that aspect, or?
Yeah, I really like the idea. Yeah, I can't just. I don't have any idea how to push it further. I think it's just a good call, and yeah, with the eyes, and maybe making the eyes glow a little bit more than the other gold, that we get back a focal point. Because if everything is the same brightness, then people will again get lost on all these gold things on the arms and the hands. So make sure that we still know what the focal point of the character is. And yeah, but it's a good idea, and you should go with it.
Yeah, if you go to light this character, I would probably put this character under just a soft shadow, just being lit from the back. Then that way, if you have this nice, cool shadow sort of softening everything out, and it'd be very easy to shade this. Then you can have your gold to really shine, because it's going to be visually, it's going to be not affected that much by shadow. We have these wonderful sort of gold designs, metallically, shining from shadows. Okay, other stuff. I feel like one of the headpieces he is wearing is too floppy, too undefined. I want to see something a little more refined than that. I feel like that would just fall off or fall apart, or
it adds a little bit to this childish appearance, I'd say, making this hat super oversized.
Yeah.
Look, giving it more of a manga feel or something. So
I feel like some of these other headpieces are, and the concepts were more interesting. Either just the one piece, or he has like the black hair that's tied up over his head, kind of poofs out at the top. Or your reference photo here of just the guy that has the head garb, but it's tied in such a way that obviously it stays on there. It feels like it's there in a controlled manner. So just reference that and make sure that that looks tidied up and kind of realistic. This lady reminds me a bit of Zipporah from Prince of Egypt, and made me think that you've got this sort of flat nose going on there. Maybe for your rendition, that could be a characteristic of the Hassori, is that they have a particular term for it where the nose doesn't have a dip there. It actually comes out and it continues the arc of the forehead. And so it's kind of a Roman nose. It doesn't just have a bump in it, but it actually continues the same arc all the way down. That's all the term for it. I can't remember what it is. But that could be a characteristic that they all have in your renditions. And that would make them kind of distinctive that way. But I feel like she's going along pretty well. Just need to see it kind of painted up more, but I'm feeling that. What was your impression?
Yeah, that with the nose sounds like a really cool idea, because you can then make clear that she's not human very easily. If there's some slight change, or for example, there was a series, I think Chronicles of Shannara or something, and there was the queen, and what I thought about what made her so special is that she had very beautiful eyes that were very far. She's human. She's not a human actress, but her eyes are super far away from each other. But it looked so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. You must look it up. Like Shannara Queen, something. She's a black person, and she has very beautiful eyes. Very far. Something like that. If you push some feature like the nose or the eyes, you can get a really cool effect, I guess.
Yeah, it's getting all those features and just kind of doing a little tweak to them, like making the cheekbones really distinct, which you see in some African bone structures. That's probably what that lady had as well. And it's almost like the cheekbones are extra wide, that allows more spacing between the eyes. And then having that really proud nose that comes down, give them a very distinct look. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there on Empire's Piece. I feel like this is going in a really nice direction, and I look forward to seeing the final. J. Kevin is our next image. Wanted to prove character design, having difficulty grasping it. It isn't like learning anatomy or perspective where I just need to follow steps. Design seems so abstract to me, and I'm having a hard time learning and applying it. An example would be the motif and gold lines. I have no idea what I was doing and wasn't sure at all if it was good or not. So yeah, again, I'm gonna just, Swatches plug, but I've got the character design that I talk about this sort of stuff, and this is where I break it down in the book. I break it down in 7 different aspects of genre, silhouette, balance, material, colors, shapes, and values. And I give you basically a tolerance of this or that. And if you do this, then you want to do it to this degree, but not to that degree. And it is the most formulaic way that I've ever seen anybody put character design. And it spent a lot of time thinking about how to try to break character design down into some sort of formula. And it won't be perfect, but it can maybe help you answer some of your questions. And thinking of everything as either harmony or contrast. Are the things working together, or are you trying to make the things contrast against each other? And there's harmony and contrast in all the different aspects. So I go into that. If you want to read about that, you can pick up. Initial impression, this is also good. You've got a soft pose going on here with general walking pose. I would like to see maybe a little turn to the body, and you would naturally get that if the body is walking. I'm going to make this little edit here. But what do you think? I'm thinking like slightly turn the upper bodies so that, that chest is forward a little bit on where the arm is rotating, and then maybe the head is not perfectly straight to us.
Yeah. Maybe she could even be, because she seems to be very fastly moving. This is my impression, she's like really moving fastly. Maybe she could even be hunched a little bit towards us, or her, for us, right, for her left shoulder being more close to us, I think would be, you would do it opposite, right? Your left leg
her
in
left
front,
shoulder is closer to us. Yes,
your shoulder, the opposite shoulder gets closer. Yeah. Also, that strap or silk that she has on top, it's super flat. It's a nice idea to have this. There's a name for that. I know it just in German, not in English, but maybe have this a little bit more dynamic. It can be, even if she's moving so fast, it can loosen up the silhouette, go away from the silhouette and be more floating. You know what I mean? So to add more of the dynamics, everything is very, very close and stiff at this moment. So I'd make more use of the silhouette. You have in the reference a similar pose, and this way it works because you, for example, can still see each leg, which gets lost here. You can have all the silk and all that in front of it, but the better would be to have some amount behind, or have very transparent stuff around her so that you can still see her pose, her legs, and it doesn't melt all into that one shape. To make the movement clear. Yeah. So more floaty, like in the reference, and maybe some transparent, or at least working with the values. This person works with values, basically, with the white trousers and the darker skirt or something behind it, cape. So it stands out pretty well. And yours is, you don't see much of the silhouette anymore. It's just a blob right now. So we need to loosen that up.
Yeah, so maybe instead of, she basically has 2 pieces of fabric, the big green one and the big black one with the designs on it. Instead of just 2 big pieces of fabric, maybe we're subdividing those into smaller pieces that allow some breaks between them.
Yeah.
so that you can see. Even the character designs up there above it, in the earlier versions, you could see the legs more because it was splitting around those legs. That might be more...
It feels really heavy right now, right?
Yeah. Well, and I'm also having a question, like, how does that work? Like, if you would actually wrap fabric around you like that, it's wrapping around, and this top part is doing this. It wouldn't billow out this way. There's nothing to make it billow out that way.
They're not connected, right?
Yeah, the only way it billows out is if it's not anchored. We can look at the other reference over here, and we buy the fact that that is billowing out here and here because of she's moving forward and the air is catching it, and it's dragging in the air behind her. But that wouldn't be the case here. It's anchored on both ends, which means that it's going to stay next to her very closely. And yeah, if we have the sash thing coming down here, then it's just anchored up this way, and it doesn't become the whole piece. It just wraps around the back side of her and then comes up there. Then it's thin enough that it could still be getting some bounce to it. And I'm also thinking that it loops over itself, that it comes down here and we get to see the inside of it. So it's going to be more like that. And then this is all the underside. This is doing more like this, and we need more some holistic folds that work.
Yeah, by painting cloth that is in movement, always think about having a turn on twist so that you see the top side and the lower side. Otherwise, it will get stiff pretty easily, or looking stiff very easily. So always have that in mind, like a ribbon. You know, think about ribbons. There's a lot of stuff you can find on Google. If you Google drapery or something like that, or drapery in the wind, with these kind of birds, you can find a lot and learn a lot from these. Yeah.
Yeah, and a rule of thumb for when you're illustrating this stuff, just to make it look cool, this and hair you can both think of as if it was underwater and they were moving from underwater, what would it do to it? And for me, when I get that idea in my mind, I'm like, okay, it kind of frees me up to do something more creative with it than just what would it do in the freeze. So we're kind of breaking it up. We're having some other pieces of fabric, and then maybe we get down to seeing the kind of the legs back there. Having some asymmetry about how some of this is hanging down. Yeah, instead of one big kind of blocky unit, we're going to subdivide that up. Then getting that twist to the shoulders so that if that arm is moving forwards, I mean, you can see it on me right now, right? I'm pretty straightforward, but if I move that arm forwards, it's going to shift the chest over. And then my hips are going to do the opposite. It's always going to be that while you're walking. Okay, with the portraits, we're going to be doing, looks like you did a larger of the female, but we'll be focusing on the male. One thing here, just with the rendering, is watch about how high you're getting the eye, the pupils, and the iris in the actual eye. I'd sketched it out earlier. You've got it where they're practically have their eyes rolling back in their head. And that only really happens if you're really looking down on the face. The face is at an extreme downward angle. And you've got a lot of white under the eye. And it looks like it's hugging the top of the eye area. But we're not. We're seeing it straight on, which means that that iris is going to be sitting in the middle like you would normally see somebody. It's going to be more like that. So let's make sure we get that right. Otherwise, it looks like he's about to seizure out.
What I think is really cool is that Kevin, he changed the tropes a bit. That the male version he draws has the cupid's bow in the lips, and the female version he draws doesn't have it. So
doesn't have the what?
The cupid bow, like the top of the lip, the shape. Compare these two. The female one is very straight, which usually is for males, and the very curvy one she did for the male one. I think it looks really cool. I just noticed this is such a change of the tropes, and I like that. Maybe this could be also special for them. Maybe the girls are the stronger in this tribe, and the guys are the sensual, emotional people.
Oh, that is fantasy for sure.
Hey! No, it's just about tropes, you know? Of course, there are all kind of people everywhere, but I just thought it was very, very interesting thing.
Okay, with the gold designs, one of the things we do want to keep away from is having any particular kind of iconography, particular symbols. This isn't a symbol. This is a... their old god imbued their skin to have these sorts of natural occurring designs. But they're not tattoos. They're not put there in a particular order. So we want to take out any of that. Any of this sort of thing, just lines, dashes, dots, that's all good. And when you do it, see about trying to fade it out a little bit. Because it isn't a tattoo, it's a shifting of the color of the skin, a pigmentation of the skin, which means that there is going to be some softness to it. And some areas maybe get a little faded out. Some areas aren't as vibrant as the other areas. Now, this is a concept, and I assume that you would refine this before the final. But these are some of the things to consider. And some areas get faded out a lot. Then maybe where it joins in with another part of the design, it gets more clear, it gets more sharp. Other areas, maybe like when it reaches up to his eyes, that it sort of spills out and it becomes bigger. It becomes more like an aura of gold around that area. Or maybe there's kind of a fade to it off of some of the points. Again, this is a really interesting sort of natural thing. And so we want to make it part of the skin, not something just on the skin. Any tips for that, or any thoughts on the lines of rendering that?
Yeah, maybe you don't have to go for lines at all. You could also do, for example, like the complete half of the lower part of the face is like up to the eye in gold or something like that. Could be also, or I don't know, just the eyes like a stripe or something. So you don't have to go for a tattoo-ish look for that. He could have blotches all over the skin, or like golden. What are these called? These like little tiny spots that some girls and guys have on their nose and
like
on
freckles.
their cheeks. Freckles, like golden freckles or something, could look cute on a girl portrait, on a female portrait.
It's thinking about it in terms of blocks as well. I like what you're saying. It's like, does all of the lower jaw area have it? Or does the area around the eyes, or is there kind of an elliptical pattern around the eye area? Well, go look at fish patterns. Look at patterns that you see in animal fur and see how it works around the eyes and see how it changes the tones around the face, and look at the way that the patterns shift. Like, could it be like a fish pattern where it has kind of a zigzag thing and then it sort of radiates out? That I think would be an interesting way to go, and that would immediately make it feel like part of the anatomy. Okay.
Or snakes maybe, because they're
Yes.
like more in the sand areas, or snakes, scorpions, something like that.
I think that's an excellent suggestion. Yeah, looking up snake patterns, especially for the deserty snakes.
Cool.
All right, Jeremy is up next. No comments or questions from Jeremy. And two lovely concepts here. I think I probably can speak for both of us saying that these are some excellent concepts.
Wow.
And
Wow.
I'm actually
So
going to
pretty.
just push the values here a little bit, Jeremy, so those can pop on stream a little better. I'm going to just get us some darker tones for the lines. Okay, cool. Let's start by taking a look at his concepts, his earlier concepts first, and any feedback or anything that you want to point out to the viewers on those.
Yeah, of course, we all see that this person really went in with very clean work. He really, he or she, Jeremy, he worked very in detail. He went from very scribbly starts and really had some thought on his designs. You see that everything is very planned, what he did, and there is a lot of detail, but he doesn't overdo it. There is not like thousands of bags and chains and stuff like that. He really knows where to stop with that, and this is what I like about the male character. The head is super small. It's over heroic, even with the angle of the view. It's super heroic style, so it's more going into comic kind of like Superman kind of proportions. I don't know whether an art director from D&D would say it's okay. Probably, I have the feeling like they would want a little bit more D&D like proportions, semi-realistic. But this is up to you, Clint, to tell us what they would ask for. The face of the girl on the other side, super realistic. I like the style, it's all good. I'm just not sure whether D&D would want it that way. And that's my question to you, whether it is a style thing.
Yeah, it depends how it's ultimately rendered, doesn't it? I'm not sure what the painting rendering approach is. Some people really draw things up very nicely. Then they don't actually detail that much in the paint. It's just a way to really know what they're doing. I think this is fine to start with. Yeah, it's nice and clean. Lets me know what's going on. But okay, let's step back. I think one of the initial things I have to point out to the other viewers is this is something that this is an issue that I talked about earlier, which is you want the character ultimately to be something that players want to play as. That is the point of this. Let us know what these people are like and make me want to play as them. And this does that. If I saw this in the book, I think these people are badass. They're cool. I want to play as these people. And I think on that alone, it's very successful. Obviously, the rendering is very good as well. Can we push it a little bit? Yeah, I think we can probably push it a little bit. No major changes from my side on these. This is another one, Jeremy, though, that we don't need this much of the character on the portrait. We mainly just need the head and neck area. If you do want to develop the rest of it, like you have it pictured here, you can totally do that. But I'm mainly concerned about just the head, area rendition. I'm with you over here on this one. It feels like maybe on the guy that it's getting just a little too exaggerated. Like the length of the legs is the main thing for me. I'm gonna just grab this and tweak those proportions quick. Because if you look at the waist is what, a third of the way down instead of half. And I know we've got that upward angle, but even still, I think it's probably going to work better if we could just take one half to one head and shorten that up. I feel like that's going to work better. Keeps it from being quite so exaggerated. What do you think about that? Is that, yeah, I like that better. It feels a little more balanced.
It gets more realistic. Of course, it loses a little bit of that wow appearance that he probably was going for, but it's more realistic, and I'd expect more something like that in a D&D book. And the other one, I would more expect in a panel of a very cool, I don't know, DC comic or something like that, you know? And I think style-wise, of course, it's your choice what you want to do with your art. Just for this D&D challenge, we recommend you to go for a little bit more realistic approach. Yeah, some more realistic proportions. That yeah, looks a little bit thick now. I think the leg curve is a little bit much. He looks.
Yeah, like I tried. I was thinking that if you took a little bit off the legs, you may be able to move the legs apart a little bit. Just to have a little more scale of that upward angle. But the way that I stretched it, you know, is just the fast way of doing it, and that makes him look fatter.
Yeah.
But he could.
Yeah, he can fix it totally.
Yeah. We know he can.
I think he knows where we are going.
Yeah. Okay, this actually reminded me of Ian McKeag's second Darth Maul, the Sith Witch. Back when they were making episode 1, Ian McKeag was tasked by George Lucas to design the new Sith, the new Darth. And they didn't know if it was male or female or really anything about it, so he did the first one and it was too scary, and he said, okay, give me your second one. And then he designed this one, and they did a variety of concepts following what they called the Sith Witch, which is this one. And yeah, Jeremy, you reminded me of that one. Hadn't thought about that image in a while, but yeah, you might even get some cues off of that. I think that's a really good kind of direction if you wanted to push some of the shapes. But let's talk about some things that are working and some things that could even be pushed a little bit. I like the layers. I like the sense of fabric. I feel like the fabric is behaving very well. The images are very easy to follow. They're clean. I can see the characters. And I would change up a couple of things. Trying to push things a little bit. Right now, the silhouette is very straightforward. It's very blocky. Just
yeah, that's what I thought. Where maybe a good value work could come in, like we had in the other reference before, with white trousers and a very dark cape or something.
Yeah.
Or yeah, but still could have some flow, right? Like a little bit of wind or something, that we have a little bit of asymmetry in the cape more.
Yeah.
Just an idea.
I did some lines earlier. I was playing with that, and this is what I was thinking of, is if we've got 2 layers to the cape, so that the top layer flares out more about halfway down and then tapers in, and then we have the closer layer just around the legs, and this gives a stronger point up at the top and then the taper in. And so overall, we got this sort of arrow kind of design to him instead of just a block. And then it's pushing a little of the silhouette shapes. I really like this idea of the ornamental gauntlet that he's got. I would want to push that even further, where we can see some clear silhouette changes. So, for instance, each piece could come up here and have a little flare off of the top of it, right? Where it's going like this. And then you get this nice little flare off the top of each one. Then we want to see a more distinct in and out pattern here. Julian, yes, it will be saved. All this will be for review. And so we want to get a little more thickness to the arm piece there. I'm going to play that up. Let's try to play that up, and because that's a cool piece. These, I feel like having some variation of the transparency of the fabric could be really nice, where they're not all heavy fabric. Like the pieces going across the chest right there, if those were half see-through, very sheer fabric, that would be neat. So that you have like some of it's really thick and then some of it's more sheer, and you have those visual layers. Okay, about those changes, the gauntlet, the different fabrics and stuff, any thoughts on those?
Yeah, I like the ideas. About the hand armor claw thingy. That's the only thing that I wasn't sure about for the general design, because I'm not so much into the D&D world, so I don't know what this could mean. I just don't get it what this claw is. Is it like something magical or a weapon or whatever? Why is that there? And how is it part of the rest? So everything is very close heavy. And we have just this hand in this heavy armor. And this kind of confused me a bit, just design-wise. So what does it communicate to me, so maybe give it some magic glow or something that we understand, here his hand got replaced there or anything like that. I'm just not sure about it design wise.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against that, him having some sort of magical ornamental gauntlet. If you wanted to put some glow on there, Jeremy, that would be fine. He does utilize some of those same shapes throughout, like the sword and the necklace piece. So there is repetition with that, and I think that ties in okay. I don't know what makes these shapes over here on his shoulder that makes them pop out a little bit, but I like them. I think that's a nice shape. So I'm thinking maybe even pushing those further on each side. Same thing with this. Is instead of just having these kinds of shape, we want to have a more dynamic set of shapes where we're really, and that's one of the things that they do with D&D, right? You push the silhouette shapes on the outside. Even if it's not 100% accurate, it makes that initial read really nice. And so you let some things come out where they maybe wouldn't really stick out quite that far, in order just to get a good visual variety of shapes there. Okay, I do like the face designs. You have a similar pattern on each of them. If not the same pattern, it's very close. You've got like the triple lines starting there under the eyes. And guys, that's not always an easy thing to do. Coming up with a nice, balanced, interesting design over the face, that takes some work. So you got to admire it when it's done well. Small things on her. I feel like this shoulder is getting just a little too weak. Can we bump that up just a little bit? Give her a little more shoulder so it doesn't just run from neck non-stop down to the arm. Make her feel just a little stronger. And again, I was just noting those designs. Small thing on this with the eye. That back eye is just, it feels like it's too long, and that it's not leaving enough visual space for the inside of the eye and the nose, and then the inside of the eye on the other side. So I would adjust that so that is, I don't know what made it fade off like that. But you can see the difference there. It's just, if you can get it just a little thinner, I feel like it gets a better amount of space. Very small thing. We don't have any color references, no lighting ideas there. Anything before we wrap up on this one?
Yeah, so just because you said it, the tattoos or the markings on the forehead are the same with her and him, right? I think he repeated that pattern very well in her hair, but he doesn't have it anywhere, right? He doesn't have that pattern, or don't I see it? So either change his or give him maybe as pattern on the clothes, something that looks similar, just to unify things, and be cautious not to make things too busy by doing that. So
yeah, they could mimic some of that pattern on his clothes. And that's a good
yeah.
point. Right now, not many of his clothes. I guess one leg piece there, it looks like it has kind of a checkered pattern on it. But just on some of the cloth having that, just on the arms or just on like this piece or this piece, um, or just on the ends of the robes of the long piece, something like that.
Or the shoes. Like
Yeah,
the shoes have again another completely different pattern. Maybe you could use that for that pattern and change it there. Because they have these little errors and stuff like that. So
oh, he says it should be on his pants, but didn't have time to add
shoes,
values.
yeah, I said shoes, yeah. Or under the pants, yeah, right, like a chain or something.
Okay. Well, I think he knows where to go with it. I feel like it's
Yeah,
on the right
he's
track.
pro already. He knows.
And yeah, Jeremy, I mean, I don't know where you are with your art right now, but if you're not working professionally consistently, that's on you. You should be. These are excellent designs. Okay, let's close that off. Go over to the next one. Louis. Louis gives us our only Okra Moth. Now, the Okra Moth was a ogre-like creature, about 15 feet tall, and it has 4 arms. It has more hair than your standard ogre. Kind of a rudimentary creature. Really basic, low intelligence. Uses clobbering and strength weapons. Yeah. And so Louis gave us one. Says, hey Clint, just a few questions. Could the pose be more dynamic? Is the silhouette interesting enough? And do they look powerful and feral enough? This is another one. Really excellent rendition. Just a line drawing and no values going on, but obviously the lines and the texturing going on, the feeling the difference between the skin, the hide, the long hair, the rocks, that sort of thing. That's all registering quite well. And I do want to comment up here with the concepts, though. Each one of these concepts, quite different, and each of them very lovely. Any thoughts on the concepts to start us off with?
Yeah, so you can see here really well what the difference is between a concept sketch and the sketch you should send in to us, because they are communicating everything we need, the pose, the design, the perspective and everything, but he stopped at that point where it's unnecessary to continue further.
Yeah.
And that shows that he has already some very decent training in sketching up things like that.
Yeah.
And the sketch you send in is much more detailed and showing us more about the structure of the skin and clothes and details and so on. I think that's really cool base to work from. And about the silhouette of the concept 2 that he went with, I thought my first reaction was laughing because of the cute little arms, the second arms. I think the idea is cool to have different size arms. In general, for the silhouette, I would like to be able to see, like from really far away, that he has the 4 arms. But both of the tiny arms are hidden within the silhouette of the main character.
Yeah.
Like the one on the body and the other on the arm, the other one. So make them more standing out would be, for the silhouette, my first idea. What do you think about that?
I like the idea. If he is going to repose it, it'd be a little difficult to get a clear silhouette from him in this pose. But if he does do some reposing, then that would be definitely something. He could repose at least that back arm to free up the silhouette of the opposite small arm. But yeah, if possible, having some visual silhouette registering of the secondary arms.
I mean, you can do it just by, for example, having a little bit of space between his right, for us left, tiny arm and the body, like a little triangle. Then you see already. And the other side, maybe just lifting the heavier arm a little bit more so that we can see the tiny arm standing out. So you wouldn't have to change all of the pose, just like little things to make things more stand out.
Yeah, he could be flexing with that other arm.
Yeah,
that
or
way.
Holding something, or scratching his beard. I don't
know. Hitting the questions though, could the pose be more dynamic? Yeah, a little bit. We don't need him in some sort of full swing attack. Distorted perspective foreshortening thing. That's we don't need splash art sort of thing. But having him in a general pose, kind of like what you can see over here on the classic ogre image, that's fine. We can have him lumbering along in some sort of walking pose. He could be turning to snarl at something. We could have some saliva kind of coming out of his mouth. He could be picking up his weapon. He could be carrying the weapon with one hand. He could be, something he just killed, an elk or something slung across his back with his other hand. So any kind of pose like that would be fine. Nothing too crazy. But it would give us maybe a little more of the attitude and kind of who this person is. Is his silhouette is interesting enough? And that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Anna, which is if we can get the 4 arms, I think that makes it a lot more interesting. And that would be one of the starting points. I do have some thoughts about also adjusting some of the design that would go into that. We'll talk about that in a second. Do they look powerful and feral enough? They definitely look powerful. He's a beefy boy. But perhaps making them a little more feral. I had to think about that for a minute because right now he seems almost too intelligent. He's standing very upright in a very controlled way. He's got a sort of intelligent 1,000-yard look on his face. And we want to dumb him down. We want to dumb him down and make him more feral. More like a bear, right? You don't have that level of intelligence. Let me go ahead and flip on. I'll let you mention some things, but I was going to flip on a couple of things that I thought. Then you can give me some thoughts on these, Anna.
Your audio cuts out. My internet is not so good. What was the question? Your audio keeps cutting out.
I was going to say, I did a quick change to it before stream, so I'm going to turn those on, and then I'll get your thoughts on those.
Yeah. So I just typed in chat, for example, for the raising the arm, could be holding, for example, also some prey that he just got caught, like a rabbit or something like that. It gives a little bit storytelling about his lifestyle, for example. Would be a cool idea. So you can change up the silhouette a little bit. Do I have anything else written here? It was this number. No. Yeah, about the functionality of the tiny arms, I wasn't so sure. He has this weapon there, right? But usually to fling that weapon, this sling, what he write there, you would also need some strength, right, in order to make it really work. So maybe you could also give it a different way of utility. It's just an idea. You can go with it whatsoever. It's just thought about if the tiny arms were, for example, the ones on top, it could be like for eating or something that you can, like a spider, they have these tiny arms in front of
yeah.
And he's stuffing his mouth with the tiny arms or something. It's not for fighting, it's for utility around his face, like scratching his ears or something, But this was just another thought. But else than that, I think I said everything that I have here on my notepad.
Okay. With the arms, I made an edit earlier. I'd like to see them bigger. They're so small at this point. They're too small for the size of this guy. So I did this, move them forwards perhaps a little bit, so they're more visible, not directly underneath the other one. And then we want to like double the thickness there of the wrist. I think what you said, which is, uses it for eating and stuff, kind of biologically, I would expect that they should be long enough that he could actually feed himself with the little arms, which means that they might need to be a little longer. They may actually extend a little further down than his bulky arms. And so, yeah, might, and we could change the proportion too, right? So normally the upper arm and lower arm have about an even split of distance, but you could do it where the upper arm is like that small, and then the lower arm is small, twice as long, and then you have the hand on the end. It's this disproportional thing to the limbs.
Yeah, it looks cool. Like a little bit more thickness already also helped a little bit of the believability. It was so thin, I would not think that there is much force in that sling when he throws it, right?
Yeah, so they were also supposed to include a medium range weapon aside from the rock weapon, which he has strapped to this big staff over here. I'm not really seeing the sling because that's more of a human weapon. That's something that you've got to fashion and treat the leather and do a little work to make that work. Can we have a bigger could it be sling based, but it's bigger and it's more crude? Something that just makes you be like, oh yeah, you don't want to be hit by that. I see a sling and it's not really fear inducing. Anything that they could huck with their strength and their size.
Could be also something sharp, like a knife or something that he made out of rock, like ancient people did, or something like that. So that he maybe does the hard work with his big arms and like cutting meat and stuff like that with the tiny arms, because yeah, it's better to have this to have tinier hands to prepare your food. I don't know. Just some idea.
Something that could really work for them is Ebola. I think that mechanically in the game that would work really well. Ebola would be like two heavy balls that has a rope or a chain between them, and then they would throw them out and they spin through the air, and then if they hit somebody due to their rotation, they automatically wrap around them and trip them and make them fall. So let's switch it out for Ebola. It's similar to what you've got, but it's a little more kind of in your face, a little heavier, and it would give them the ability to incapacitate a prey for them to get to them.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Or a net could also work, like something that he throws.
A net, something on that line. A net that maybe has sharp pieces of metal and bone and stuff on it to... Yeah, either one of those, Louis.
They're cool ideas, yeah.
Okay. With the head, I wanted to see about trying to make him a bit more beastie. So with the head, I dropped it down. We're used to seeing humans, the head is by far the highest thing. It's nice and clear above everything else. But if you start moving the head down, it starts feeling more beast-like. You think of like a dog or a cat, their head is down even with their body. It's something that unconsciously you kind of note. So we want to move it down. You even had that in the variation over here, like the back part was higher. Kind of going that way with it. Then some of the edits I thought was this. Let's pull up on. Went over it. And I'm trying to give him a little more dumber expression, which I did by really increasing that brow over the face, over the eyes, giving that really heavy brow there. And that kind of knocks the intelligence off of it a little bit. And then going over and grabbing a little more of the simian proportions. And part of that would be changing up the mouth barrel. And on simians, this area of the nose and the mouth is basically a half sphere. It just, whole area sticks out like that. And we had it basically the opposites. We had it dipping in and coming out of the chin. Again, a human trait where it comes from out to in to out again. So we want to barrel that mouth out, make it feel more beastie. And then as far as the hair, it was, I like the general shape, but let's break it up where there are bits of it that are a lot longer and they're matted. They're just matted with, he doesn't treat them. He doesn't tie them up and make them pretty or anything. They're just matted with blood and dirt and grime and oil and all that stuff. And so there's a bunch of these. And then same thing back here. And this would kind of break up his silhouette, is if he's got a variety of these just kind of a snake's nest of matted fur and longer hair. So he's kind of got both, right? He's got some that is a shorter fur that's really for the warmth, and then the longer hair that sort of breaks out between some of those. Okay. Thoughts on that? Any of those changes?
Yeah, these are really, really great changes. So I also already thought it looks cool before, but you just, as a pro, this is like something that just a pro can teach you. Like these little things that can change so much. It looks really cool and more believable. And yeah, I think you got very good advice now to base your revision on. So looking forward to what you make out of it, Louis.
Yeah, Louis, put in the time. I want to see this guy. He's my only Ogre Moth representing the Ogre Moths. Okay, so we need to see him in the final.
You do.
I didn't mention earlier, but the weapon's looking good, and I also do want to call out to those legs and the feet. This kind of elephant style foot. I don't need to touch those. Those are great. I was going to say, like, on the weapon, maybe making it a little more asymmetrical. Like, very symmetrical right now. I'm almost thinking, like, maybe it has one side that really sticks out a lot further. Maybe he's found a chain, even. I feel like he might have chain or something wrapped around it, right? Just to break it up so it's not just wood, tie, rock, and so there's a mixture of it as it goes down. Okay, good stuff, and we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah, really cool. Looking forward to it.
Melanie. Yeah, so this is something I want to do going forwards, is having some of the creatures, more things like the Ogre Moth, and I had that. And thinking of some other races, we'll probably be moving into doing some of the astral characters, which are kind of the demigods and stuff. And so if you're interested in that, let me know, and I'll start putting together some outlines for the descriptions of those sorts of characters. Okay, this one is by Melanie. It says, fortunately, I thought I would have more time, but life happened. Life does have a tendency of doing that. So my submission this time has to stay rougher than I'd like. I still hope it's enough for you to work with. Looking forward to your feedback. Okay. We've got, now, Melanie asked me if, I think it was Melanie, asked me if they could do one of the Zez instead of the Ogre Moth. Zez was from Group 1. She couldn't get into Group 1 due to her schedule, but she still wanted to do a Zez, which is the fungi sort of plant character. And so we have that instead of the Okra Moth design. Then, of course, the Hassori. So, yeah, these are definitely rougher. Generally, I, of course, do like to see them a little more refined than this. But this is what we got, so this is what we'll move with. My general impression is you've got a nice variety of shapes going on here with your Zez character. And I like that you're being flamboyant with them. My main concern here is that it does not become a flower character. And it's really going to be dependent on the colors that you run with, and if we overuse the petal-like design. Now you've got a variety of these different mushroom references over here, showing different ones. I think we need to throw in some classic mushrooms in order for that to be clearer. And maybe change up the head, because I feel like that's so flower-like that it's going to be giving the wrong read for it. What was your impression, particularly of the Zez character here? Any thoughts?
Yeah. So I also like the especially the leg area. I like this one very much. It has a lot of variety, and it's asymmetrical, but it's often hard for people to come up with. I think yes, the top does look more like petals. Maybe she got carried away a little bit with that. I did not see that first because I forgot that we are not supposed to draw flower characters, so I did not shut that down. So yeah, that's then well, challenge outline, right? What I thought is that the belly area is not fitting to the rest. It's very straight lines, very hard looking. Maybe we can break it up a little bit with different patterns, with parts of like a tree trunk or something growing out of it. Or it doesn't have to be super detailed, because if you have everywhere detail, it can get quite daunting and confusing. But yeah, maybe have some. There could be even like some holes, like you can look through her body, because it's just some tiny trunks or some tree trunks, you know, some what is the idea is called? Like the arms of the tree. What's it called, Clint? Help me out here.
The branches?
Branches, thank you. Yeah, so maybe it's just made out of some branches or something. So there's a lot you can do. What are you drawing this T-shirt on right now? What's that T-shirt? Is it a new Swatches T-shirt that you can get at the store?
There is not. Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
Then you can design it right now here in this T-shirt.
Actually, listening to your comments, I had practically the same thought. That the middle section of the body doesn't fit. It's too disconnected. And you were talking about, could we put holes in it? Could we do something like that? I literally had this sketch of lines from earlier.
I don't know, just anything. Like, and sometimes there is holes in the tree that is a bit broken or whatever.
Well, Melanie's got these orange little mushroom thingies in the reference over there that are almost like big soft fork designs. I'm gonna say just do that. Replace the middle of the body with that. So you've got these orange designs that come up out of, and they don't have to be orange. You can make them any color. But it's that sort of design that comes up out of the center of the legs, and they just sort of merge together. And it's got the holes in them, just like you see it over here. And then it merges up into the head area. Right, and the arms sort of bend out of those as well. And so it keeps it from being completely solid like a person would. And then as far as the head, we can keep that general shape, and I think it should probably get nice and wide across the top there. But let's go for more of these guys, your classic mushrooms. We can use the petal designs. The petal designs look great on the legs. Even if you wanted some of those petal designs like around the ends of the wrist, so you got your little hands sticking out the end of them, but you've got the nice flare, and that flare could be a continuing repetition design. But let's do this for that head area. You have those classic mushrooms that are coming up and then growing in the top area, and you've just got a variety of them coming up and layered together. What do you think about that as far as a solution or trying to take away from the petal approach?
Yeah, now you draw it with the darker color. I get more. Before I did not understand well what you meant with that, because it's all super bright yellow that is hard to see for me here.
Yeah.
But now I see. Yeah, that can give quite a cool look. These little cute mushrooms. What would you do with the face? With no face at all, or?
If anything, they just kind of collect into one major branch there at the bottom, and you just need like a crease or two in it, and that's all you really need in order to connect. They're not even all capable of speech. They don't necessarily even have mouths. They don't breathe and eat like humans do, so they don't need to have those features. So you can just have a couple little bends and folds in it, where the different stems or stalks, I'm not sure what it is on a mushroom, are kind of coming out, and then yeah, that would serve as your little face. Okay, moving over to the Hassori. This one's really rough, very undeveloped, so it's hard for me to say much about it. I'm trying to shift my pose here on my chair. It looks like you're referencing and combining two different images here. The one marked there of that lady, I think that's an excellent direction, and then kind of combining it with elements and maybe some of the colors and patternings of these people, and that works too. Because it looks like you've got like the little vest from the lady in the blue, but a lot of the designs from this lady in the white. And yeah, a combination of those two together, Melanie, is going to, I think, get you really close to what you need. And this phase pattern is very different than what we've seen. The concentric rings with the dot patterns. And on that, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier, which is maybe the inner one's more solid, or maybe the whole ring is more solid, or maybe even the lower part of this is almost all gold. Think of some of those variations, not just lines, but overall gradients and tones. Yeah. All right. How did you approach the Hassori concepts?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't look too close into it because I guess she just wanted to give us, in case the one doesn't work that we just worked on, she has another one as backup. I like the portrait and the idea. Again, we have this tattoo look. We talked about that earlier. You can look up what we said about the other designs of the people, what ideas there are. And for her, the full body. Look where the center of weight is. It's too much on the outside of her right foot, for us the left one. So she would fall over. But there is not much I can say about. I mean, it's some nice ideas with the clove, but it's not enough to say give much advice on it. I would wait and see where she's going with it, you know. I recommend for the finals just to send in one, so either the fungi one or this character.
Yeah, if you're pressed for time, then just throw it into the whichever one you're more interested in, Melanie, and don't try to split it. I understand that life happens. Sometimes you don't have nearly as much time as you thought you would. So just pick whichever one you want and run with that one. I was just thinking on the portrait, it may be nice to have a little hair visible, just kind of coming down in the back, or even parts coming down. Even if it's a guy, they could have enough hair that a little would be. Okay. Let's move to Olivia. We're trying to keep it on track today. Probably going to run a little bit longer than I wanted, but. Right, decided to do the male Hassori, the portrait the last minute. Wasn't satisfied with the headshot of the full body, so it ended up reworking it. I'll take out the male full body on the final, but wanted to leave it so you could see. Okay. So, yeah, we will be removing the male full figure. And then on the male portrait, yeah, this is another one where you can basically just give me that area, and you wouldn't necessarily need to develop all of this down here, if that helps save you some time there. And then this one, I feel like this has a fairly cohesive overall feeling. We've got some lighting, we've got some colors in it. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, for me the same. I think it's really nice way of rendering. The style is cool. Proportions are good for D&D. Also here, for example, with the female full body, again, some parts that are again pushed to symmetry, like the silk that is her cape or over her head and the back of her body. Maybe just have it on one side. It just flattens out the whole character a lot. Could be more floating or something. You know what I mean? That bright yellow whitish thing. Bring back the asymmetry. Olivia, yes, she has started that already in the design of the clothes of the character, and yeah, she just tried to balance everything out very much. And because she's standing very straight, like with straight hips and straight shoulders and straight face, it gets kind of stiff, or it's not meant to be offensive, but it's a little bit boring to look at, and maybe some tilt towards us, like one shoulder closer towards the feet being at a different, like in perspective, like she has in the lighting reference. The character that is standing super straight, but she's standing in perspective straight. And that brings back some dynamics. And the middle one in the light reference, the guy, he has some tilt in his shoulders, a really slight one, and he's also angling or having his head at an angle a bit, and he's like giving this smirky kind of look at us, you know, and that's what creating interest. And here we have everything very much straight from the front, and I like the design and colors and all, but we could bring that back into her pose. You know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. We need to give a little more flow to her pose, make it feel a bit more natural. I was playing with that here. I'm looking at, this is the high shoulder from what I can see, which means that this should be the low hip over here. But that's not what's happening, because this is the weight-bearing hip, weight-bearing leg. It's the straight leg. This one's going off the angle, when it actually needs to be the reverse. That this needs to be the high hip, because these are always going to go counter to each other. It's going to be this, or it's going to be this. You don't have this or that. And then this leg is going to come down to where it's almost underneath the center of gravity, which is considered the back of your neck. That's what it's trying to keep balanced. And so that hip is going to be joining in over there, the leg, and it's going to be coming down until it gets down to about here. And then this leg, since it's not carrying but a fraction of the weight, can be kicked out further. And so he's had the same sort of thing, and that's why I flipped it, because it would actually be more accurate to have the legs with that high hip on this side with the straight leg coming down here, and then have that leg kicked over, and that balances against the upper body. So think about that when you're reposing it, and see if that can't get you something a little more natural. I don't know. I did some lines trying to play with the asymmetry. You mentioned that, which is right now it's perhaps a little too symmetrical. We could probably find some more interesting shapes and imbalances. I did some lines here, and this is what I was thinking. But let me, you know what? Let me redo them, and I'll redo them, and I'll walk you through the thought process behind them. First up is, if you're going to have a shawl like this, we've got to think about how is it sitting against the character, because right now it's floating off of both of the arms and both of the shoulders. And she's not moving, so it's not like there's force going up behind it to keep it up. So here, let's see about... This is being supported up here by the head, and then there's no reason for it to really bow up. Fabric doesn't really bow up. So this is going to be dipping down, and it'll be in here, and then it's going to be dipping down. And then it's going to be tied back in, so you have the connection there. And then it's going to be tied back in over here. We probably want it to have, this part's like really far out compared to this one. I assume that they would probably be more similar. So we're going to have that. And then we really shouldn't be able to see the back side of that as much. We might see some stuff underneath here. Not very much. And that's going out. Now, this gives us a kind of a methodology to go with. We're starting a design flow. And that is this. Radiating lines and creating this sort of pattern across the character. So here we've got this, and we want that continued throughout the character. You have that to a degree, but this is kind of what Anna's talking about. If we were to do that sort of thing and have it here, but it's weighted to one side. And then you have the ins and outs of this as it's coming down. Ins and outs as this is down. That's not the tool I meant to grab. The same color as the brush. The background is the same color as the brush. I keep losing the tool in the background. So that's a bit more interesting. And then we want to continue it with the elements inside. So instead of having these bands, those bands don't go with our flow. So if we're going to have bands going across the arm or these ties, we want to angle them so that they follow the same angle. No, it doesn't have to match the exact same angle, but it still has that outward diagonal angle to it. Same thing with this. Now this already follows it, so that's cool. I want that. Maybe there could even be an opening or a series of little holes in it that help mimic that design there. For the piece going around the waist here, instead of, yeah, again, flat. Flat doesn't go with it. Flat goes against the design. So it can come up, and we've got a V-cut in it, don't we? Yeah, we've got a V-cut there. Now, I already like this. That's a nice sort of arrangement. But we do need to adjust the sword. Holding a blade downwards with the blade facing backwards. Very impractical. So there's really no reason you would ever hold a sword downwards and backwards. So we need to change that. If she wants to have her hand maybe on the pommel and then the blade is essentially hanging down this way at her side, and then we can have her arm down here and then resting on the top of the pommel as the sword's hanging there. That works. Or if she wants to have her sword drawn, that's okay too. But we want to do that. Again, we're looking for elements that are flattening off against the design. So we're coming down here, go into the Greaves, and can we put a V-cut on them? Or can we have them come in like this? And then when it gets to the end, can we have a more pronounced angle to them as they kind of pop out at the end? And trying to find a reason to continue that design. With the pants, I feel like they're not tight, but they're also not nice loose pants. Maybe going to something more like what we see up here and allowing the pants to have a lot more body to them. And have a lot more there, and that allows us to fan this out further. Yeah. That's what I would do with it. And mentally, that's kind of how I would approach it, to figure out what angles things need to be at, how to start trying to balance things out. And I would keep the sword on that side. If you do have the asymmetry of the cloak being on this side, then you need something more significant on that side. The sword helps balance that out. Okay, I'll shut up for a second so you can... What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think that's really, really cool changes that you did there. I like the idea for the cape. Sometimes it is about being a bit bold and experimenting and exaggerating, and you can always pull back on things, but often it's a good thing to do something very exaggerated first and then see and lowering down like step by step. It just imagine it like with magic cards when you draw for a card game, everything is super small and you want things to have an impression on you even in a very small size, so you need to have very, very brave designs and something bold and new and entertaining. And so always try to push yourself. And if you think, okay, I went a bit over the top, the cape is like filling the whole page.
Yeah.
Then you can still go back and shrink it down. So yeah. And it, depending on the style, you must get bolder and bolder. Like comic style, sometimes on the panel of a comic book, the whole panel is filled by the cape because it's Superman or something. So, but even for a semi-realistic to realistic design, you can always exaggerate a bit and then get back to the smaller things.
I was just looking at the ears. Now, the ears are one of those things that I would be okay with. I didn't have it in the outline. It was either Olivia or somebody else asked me about this, which is, can I make any other changes to the physique? And the idea here is that they are like 95% human. But small changes, kind of like what you mentioned, maybe their eyes are slightly further apart than you normally would have. Or maybe their irises are a little bigger in the eye than what you would normally have. In this case, the ears go to points, and they have these golden points on them. And that's okay. I'm good with that. Looks like we're also having red hair. If we're going to go with this, which I'm okay with, then let's turn it into more of a gradient, because the red hair against the dark skin is going to be difficult to read. So how about it transitions from black to red? So in some areas, it's really black. So maybe like the eyebrows, so that the eyebrows can read nicely. And then at the front, right there towards the middle of the face, it's really black. And maybe it's something like the newer hair is blacker, but the longer it gets more red. And so like the sides of the beard here get nice and red, but it gets more black as it gets to the mustache area. and then it gets more black in the middle.
Yeah, or if you want to have something special with the ears, still humanoid, there's these tribes. I think it's South American, but also could be African, with like these huge plate-like things in their lower part of their ears.
Mm-hmm.
Like what also came kind of a hype for young people in our culture. But they have really huge ones. Like you could eat from that plate. You maybe make this one a gold one or something. Maybe it's part of the body and it's just like this really huge golden ring or something. No, not ring, but plate, like a full plate of gold in the ear. Something like that. Maybe this could also work for special ears. Yeah.
Yeah, but
But I
like
get it. There's always
that...
some fascination for pointy ears. I have that too. I would love to put pointy ears on everything after all. So I totally get that obsession.
Okay, we're going to be looking at Sebastian's image.
Yep.
More Hassori says, I've had a lot of fun with the challenge so far. Hey, glad to hear it. Always want people to be enjoying these. Standing pose is pretty graphic right now, but I will aim for a more traditionally illustrated look to match the portrait. Okay, good. Yeah, right now it's really just clean lines, flat tones, but it works well as a concept and helps me understand what you're doing. And then we have the portrait guys. Yeah, it looks like you've gone through quite a few iterations. It's good to see that up here. A variety of different kind of walking, standing poses, all kinds of different ways that the fabric's draped around the character. This is what, the sort of stuff that you want to do if you're doing a concept like this. And did a variety of head sketches. Good. Changing up the values, darks against lights, lights against darks. These sorts of things, like in that. And some good references as well. Pull up on the character. Why don't you kick us off? What's your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, so I think it's really nice and clean work on the standing character. I like that there is detail, but it is nicely balanced. The most detail is around the focal point, and the rest is left quite simple, simplistic. Sebastian has put a lot of asymmetry, which gives just more dynamic for a standing character. This is the thing. Maybe people are like, "Oh, she's talking about symmetry and asymmetry again." Not every character has asymmetry, and it is about. For me, it is about. It's a standing character, and you need to find ways to make it look still interesting, even though it's just standing there. You know, and you can do that with some tilts of the upper body, of some perspective usage, of some details, of asymmetry, all that. So this is why I keep pointing that out, just for an explanation. And when people think like, what's about that asymmetry? Why is she talking about that all the time? Yeah, so I like that a lot. For the skin, I like the little freckles, but they're a bit too even to my taste. They could be varying in size much more. Maybe the face has tiny ones and the body larger ones, larger patches or anything like that. It just doesn't look, how to say, engaging to me, like these little freckles in the same size and pattern all over the body. But this is just already detailed thing. So I like the pose in general. I think the shoes do not fit well to the rest of the design, but this is also a detail thing. I'm going into details because I think the main thing he got down. I can see that's a specific tribe. I can see that there is this Arabian kind of Sahara look that you want for the character. She has a weapon. She has a staff, but shows that she is wandering around. So we got all the base down, what we need. And so I think just adding some interest could already be all I have to say about that character, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's on a good way.
Yeah.
To things. It's your turn, and I guess with your amount of creativity that always wows me all the time, you can now wow the chat and the viewer with your approach.
Expectations.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No pressure.
I don't always have something amazing. Okay. I'm with you.
Do. Sorry.
I like the idea of the looser kind of freckle spots. But yeah, we need some variety there. And we need some that are longer. We've got yellow is not going to show up. We need some that are like longer, and then maybe it kind of breaks up, or maybe it sort of splits and does this sort of thing, and maybe they come together, or maybe there's little ones in the middle. And so you want to have this broken sort of pattern to them. Or maybe one area is more fully gold, and then it sort of breaks up into little pieces from the larger piece. And this keeps it from just being just like a bunch of little spots. And so we're looking at some areas being more connected, other areas not. And I assume that you can go around there and do that. I do like the cloak, like you said, creating a little asymmetry. That is, there's a cloak on this side hanging out, but there's not a cloak on that side. And that allows there to be a little imbalance. And with a character that's not moving, you still want to give something that's giving a little motion, a little dynamics. And having blowing fabric is one of the best ways to do that. I wanted to push it even further, so I did some lines earlier to play with that. And I'm looking at letting it have a more aggressive series of folds to take it out there, instead of just this one simple little point, having like this folding back, and then it kind of folds back on itself, you know, and goes back in there. Pushing some things like if she's going to have some bangles around her wrist, then let them be even more. Let there be even more of them. Playing with some of the shapes here around the head with the way this is. Strikes me a little odd that this is basically wrapping the head, but it goes all the way up over the head. And it doesn't cover any of the front of the head. That feels a little odd to me. So that's why I'm thinking that we bring it down some. And this is also where we show some more asymmetry, where the wind is coming in and is pushing on that inside, and it's dragging this side further out, like this. And then it's going to be pressing this side nice and close. And so we get this sort of asymmetrical design there, instead of the more regular, more symmetrical design. That. I want to see some sort of skirt put on her. Otherwise, it's almost like a wrapped bikini with a cloak and travel bag and staff, and just not that much protection. So let's put another layer. Maybe it's a proper skirt. Maybe it's just getting this wrapping and letting this wrapping extend down further. Because my thought is, one, yeah, they have photosynthesis, so they can use the sun's power, but also there's all kinds of nasty sandstorms and bugs and other things that you do want to be protected from. So there is a certain amount of covering that they need in order to be properly protected. So I'm thinking that would be a change there. Same thing on this guy, just playing with his shape a little bit. And if we are seeing him at this angle, which I'm thinking that we're actually going to be seeing across the shoulder, right? Because otherwise his body is turned, but he's got his head turned and his eyes are coming back to us. It doesn't really work. And so we want to turn his body a little bit so it's at the angle of the head, which is a soft turn. But if that's true, then we're looking at the inside of the hood over here, and we really won't be seeing much of anything of the outside. So that's what I'm thinking here. And he's turned, so it's kind of bending back. And then this is all the inside of the hood, and then we see a little bit of the outside over there. And again, just pulling it down a little further. It can even be further than that. I mean, a lot of times they'll have them coming down even as far as this, and then having the band on top of that. But let's play with that as well. That was my initial feedback. We don't have color variations to look at. I think the white fabric against the dark skin works really well. I don't really see a point to change that. Yeah, see this rendition, maybe mixing these two. I kind of overlooked this earlier. But the value concept for there, that last one, I'm almost feeling like kind of combining these two a little bit. But having this sort of thing going on, but obviously it's blowing the other direction to match this one. Yeah, kind of grabbing some of that and then swinging that back over here. And you may even have a piece of this over here as well, that there could be some extra fabric and blowing off from the headpiece as well. Going back. Okay, any thoughts you want to give to wrap this one up?
I don't have more ideas. I like what you suggested, and yeah, I'm just looking forward what Sebastian will take this to. So
yeah, I'm with you. Okay, we'll move on to the last one.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not of any help.
No, I just want to give you the opportunity if you've got something. This is the European person.
Oh,
W.
Nice, yeah. Oh, white check, I think. But
white check.
I don't speak the language. I think it's Czech or Polish or Russian. I don't know. White Czech, Sobkowiak, white Czech.
By the way, there were simpler ways to write that sound, just in my language. Yeah. Okay. No comments or questions here. Good series of simple sketches, and it looks like a black and white to color rendition on these. I generally have a positive feeling. I did use this lady's portrait on the cover of the episode for YouTube. Worked really nicely. Nice and clean that way. And I feel like this is going the right way, but it's not committed enough to maybe having a sense of culture, enough layers. Feels a bit sparse. Did you read it that way, or do you think it's hitting a good balance?
I also think it could need maybe one more layer on things, or some little cultural signs, or like we had before, like little chains, or some accessory, especially on the girl. We have a very close portrait of her, so we can add some detail, maybe in her hair or something like that. I think she's really beautiful, and I really want to see that one finished. It's a beautiful portrait of her. Yeah, but it could need something more, just to tell us more story, who she is, or where she comes from, or the lifestyle, or anything like that. You can have that already. Maybe she collects little things that she puts in her hair, or I don't know, like just some little things. And for the guy, I wrote down, I like the dynamic of it, and the only thing that I thought is a bit pulling me off is that the hand is hidden within his cape.
Yeah.
And it's also straight, the arm and the cape in the same direction. I would offset that. Yeah, and make sure what he's doing with that hand. And yeah, this is something. That's the first thing that threw me a little bit off with that one. I like that we see a lot of his muscles as symbol for his fighting race that has to struggle with the hot weather and fight stuff, and it's a good thing to show a lot, but some more layering, and that arm hidden in the cape was the one thing I had about him.
Yeah, that's some of my thoughts as well. This one, I'm thinking, this is getting us on a good track, but yeah, we need to push it along further. I would adjust that as well with the arm mimicking the cloak, and I've got a little line drawing here about how you might do that. This is another one where I'm going to ask that we unwrap some more of the face and allow us to see more of that guy's face. Now, if we want to put some sort of scarf that goes around the neck, maybe covers up part of the chin, that's okay. But let's not take it to where we've got only the eyes left. And I'm feeling like this is another one where I don't know who this guy is. I don't feel like he has a role or really has a personality now. But let's take him in the direction of him being a fighter. He seems like he's got that nice like swimmer's physique where there's really good balance between mass and leanness. And so he's already got his sword drawn. So let's give him some more weapons. Let's weapon him up. Let's got another sword hilt here where he's got a sword kind of strapped back this way. Maybe he's got a couple of throwing daggers up over his shoulder. This will help break up some of that silhouette there. Maybe he's got another dagger or something here on his belt. And so this guy's just ready to, take you down. And is there some sort of design or end on this that we could do to make that a little more interesting? Maybe he has a simple bracer. Just, just two little pieces of armor or something to make him more of a fighter. So
yeah, maybe even a weapon that doesn't exist, like a fantasy weapon.
Yeah.
That the tribe invented themselves. Like you can come up with something.
Yeah, some sort of, almost like some sort of diamond throwing star, right? Some sort of throwing device or slinging device or he's got I think I did a character a while back that had like a pole that had a long chain that had a big bladed thing on the end of it that you're like, what? Okay, sure. Something on that lines could work. And I did some lines as far as adjusting the cape. And this is what I'm thinking. It's like, you're really going to be ratcheting up the amount of wind. So this is all the inside. And he's catching it from completely, like, really blowing crazy. But then this is all of the top side. And then you can easily see his arm, but it doesn't mimic the exact angle of all the rest of it. So that can be blowing really heavy that way. Then we want to get to see a bit more of the face here. And then if we still want to have this hanging down, again, this is one of those places we want some asymmetry. Like maybe it's hanging down more over on that side, not as much on this side. That hanging there. This just feels like a set of tatters for his pants. It's not. There's no real design going on there. So perhaps we can give him some actual pants, and probably some big loose pants. And then he's got some layers of fabric over that. And the layers of fabric can be kind of blowing crazy. And then you can have the standard kind of pants inside of them, and you probably want to have like the back side of that longer stuff down here as well. That's what I'm thinking. Like, let's weapon him up. Let's let that fabric have a bigger gust to it. A little more in the face. Some proper pants. Some interesting weapons. Any thoughts moving kind of that direction with it?
Yeah, I think that looks really cool. Very dynamic. And also gives now the arm a bit more meaning. Why is he holding it out like that? That's a nice thing to do. Yeah, I think that's a good base to work from, and I look forward what White Chick is doing with that. Really cool, especially the portrait. I'm interested in.
Yeah, the portrait would be nice. I'm not sure what this is. I have the little arrow there. Is this hair that's going to be sticking out? I'm unsure.
It looks to me like hair, yeah.
Okay.
But maybe you could make it also golden and make it kind of a accessory for hair. I don't know. Not that long though then, but yeah. Could also make it accessory or it's hair, I don't know. It's a bit straight, right, for hair.
And like it looks like you've got all of the hair kind of coming down in a big group, and that's good. But again, this is another one. Like if you're going to do that, then let's go even more with it and have the hair basically coming down all over this, and then blocking off part of face there. And so it's much bigger. I do like the idea that there is like these golden sort of ties that go through it, or strands of hair that go through it, that give the really good sense of contour and volume to this thing as it's hanging down. And then she probably could have some small ones. And this is what I'm thinking is, I'm not sure about the one that comes off the top there. Take that out. And then she can have some small ones that are just kind of coming out over here. And then they can just have some little gold ties, or maybe those are braided. Braid pattern on those, and that would be nice. And yeah, same sort of thing that we've talked about on some of the other ones. See about maybe changing these so that they go from thin to thick, soft to cleaner, harder edges, but always working it into the skin. I think you're going to have the dark skin really nice. And this is also somebody that doesn't necessarily need direct light on them. It can have that sort of even light that you see on some of your reference images. So maybe you don't even have any bright lights on it. Like all the face is kind of shadowed, allowing all those gold elements to just kind of pop out. And we could be getting backlight, light coming through this fabric on the other side, making that bright. And then the rest of it would be cooler. That's picking up the more of the shadow. I mean we're assuming maybe like a sky blue. Down there, you're gonna have like a high contrast.
Yeah, it's a good way to get a little bit more color into it, right?
Yeah.
And not stay so monochromatic.
Well, anywhere the light is hitting and bouncing back up on the underside that's facing downwards, that's going to get really hot because of the multiplication of the heat of the light source. But anywhere that's in shadow facing upwards is going to be taking on the tint of the sky. Transition along there at some James Gurney has some well-lit desert scenes, I think in his Journey to Shandar book with Dinotopia. So you might look at how he renders some of that. And you can get some more. Okay. Somebody mentioned pizza. Silver said eat pizza. It should surely be Pizza Friday. I may go get me a pizza. I've got a spam call. You know what? I have a bit of good news that's totally unrelated to art. My new cabinets came in. Oh. Yeah, ordered new cabinets for the kitchen. Since we don't have any lower cabinets. And I ordered those. These came in. So yeah, that'll be coming in tomorrow, hopefully. And we're going to spend the next couple of days making a kitchen. That's what I'll be busy with. Okay, well, that wraps it up for this episode. Let's see, going forwards, anything I'm forgetting about? Anything we want to invite people to check out?
Your audio cut out again. What was the question? I already closed everything, but still.
No, I was just saying, just wrapping up the episode. If there's anything we want to remind them, if you missed the beginning of the episode, then realize that for the next day and a half till the end of Halloween, so ending on November 1st, you can get 40% off of the character design PDF. That's where I go in depth in all types of stuff dealing with character design, like I've been talking about in this episode. You can find that on swatchesart.com. Why I keep getting so many spam calls. I'll turn my phone off.
Yeah, definitely go and grab a copy of it. It's just really, really amazing things. I already own it since, I don't know, when did you bring it out?
Oh, yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, so yeah, I own it since then. And I keep referring to it. So even if you work through it, doesn't mean it got obsolete or something. You can just rework it and get reminded. And it's a really cool thing to have. And it's a good thing. And 40% off, like, what the fuck? Go get it.
Yeah. Well, I'll probably run in some other specials. Going forwards, I was thinking maybe I'll run a special for a week or two for the Fridays. One thing I did forget to put, I should have put it on the announcements, is just call out. Hey, a lot of people are not aware that we have a different stream every week. There is another stream. It is for members. It is a paint over stream. Let me show you some of the stuff that we did last time. So you guys submit your images in every time. We randomly pick 3 or 4 of them. We do paint overs. They're usually like 35, 40-minute paint overs. This was Jonathan's. He submitted in the left one. I played with it, try to punch up the lighting. On some of the stuff I do compositional changes, but I can't necessarily like redraw entire characters. That gets a little long. But I was, have fun with it, trying to get a better sense of the image, better colors, more interesting lighting, doing that. Mary Beth, we did, after her submitting this in like 5 times, I finally did some work on her knight character and talked a little bit about rendering metal, getting like kind of a softer light, doing a little character design changes here or there. We looked at doing like some changes with an orc, adjusting the lighting, adjusting posing, that sort of thing. So if you want to get in on that, it's really cheap to get in. Help support the channel. It's only $5. You get 4 extra live streams a month. It's a new weekly live stream. They run for about 2 hours. And that means that you get 4 chances to get a paint over. And there's usually less than 10 people submitting artwork per week, which means that you have a really high chance of getting a paint over. And even if you only get 1 paint over in a month, that was only $5, which is still a fraction of the cost of an art challenge ticket. So, think about it. Oh yeah, we also did Anastasia's Zed's character, which is really, really nice to begin with. So we were just trying to play around with some little tweaks here or there, getting some more light, getting some more color, some of that sort of stuff. Yeah, go check it out. You have to become a member on I believe, a desktop. I don't think you can become a member on mobile devices through YouTube. So get on your computer and check it out, and you have to become a super swatcher. That's tier 2. Yep. I couldn't remember. Were you on the last? Did you join us for the last Paint Over stream?
Oh, the last one I had to miss out because I was so busy. But guys, I've been there before, and I really can just second what Clint said before. It's really much you can get for such a little money, and even if you don't get picked, you learn so much in this channel. You can ask questions.
Yes.
You can just learn from the mistakes of others. It's a good thing even if you don't get picked.
Yeah, that's a good point. A good reminder is that it is slightly different than this stream. In this stream, it's just me and Anna, or me and Nito if Anna's out. And on the Paint Over stream, I'm in an open room there on Discord. So if you want to come chat with me, ask me questions during the stream, you're welcome to do that. So you're actually more, I'm more open to being approached during the Paint Over stream. So, all right, well, I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys so much for joining. And Anna, thank you for taking the time and being able to join us again today.
Thanks for having me again.
Yeah.
It was much fun.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you around the community. And until next time, keep drawing.
Yeah. Bye.